cared for a number of years for all of her functions and needs. So the idea was she can't climb. It's really hard to take her up in the tree. How about just put her into a hammock chair? So in one of the videos, you'll see the hammock chair floating around, and it's basically a cargo net on a pole that's hung from a limb. And we can take a child or any person of any ability, regardless of size, and wrap them up in a cocoon. You're almost web-like or womb-like in there, I'm sorry, in the hammock chair. And so the companion that had been with Bridget for a long time knew a lot of her eye movement type of things and body posture, and they had a connection. So she said that she was willing to try. So I was able to help Bridget get into the hammock chair and then just do slow orbits around in the breeze and just let go. And the companion looked over and said she's never seen or felt Bridget this relaxed. So that was a personal testimony that I still get teary about, because it's such an impactful thing to give someone just the simplest joy of being hanging on a rope in a tree. So that kind of did it for me. And then later on, Stan and I rigged up some things, and we had all sorts of people of different challenges climbing. And then when we're all done, the Girl Scouts have a song. It's called the Bravo song. All your Girl Scouts know it and sung it. And if you haven't heard it sung to you, then be jealous. Stan and I both, had to walk away crying about that one. So that's just a good story about how we got started. And since then, we've dealt with children in the fringe, children that are homeless, autistic. A partner of mine climbed with 2 blind people that have spent about an hour feeling every component and every knot and everything on the saddle, and realized that this whole system was going to be able to support them, and being able to trust Noel Boyer with that pleasure just impacted me. So there's a lot of things in this world that we like to do to get together and have fun, the bonfire, the camaraderie, the circle up. And most everyone there is able-bodied, can climb for themselves, but being a companion to someone and taking them aloft. The lady that had the wheelchair that we set up in Olathe, we got her to the first limb, and she looked down in this empty wheelchair and said, that's a picture she'd never ever dreamed of. So that's kind of the stuff that you can have. You can be rewarded with that also. Excuse me. I feel like I've been talking for hours. So if anyone wants for me to demonstrate the self-advancing things, I've got that outside. I would be happy to see, is there a chance to see the group in a meeting, or if maybe the people that I've climbed with before know me. Maybe we could circle up on a screen with those guys. Is that possible, Tamala?
I'm sorry, it's not. The kind of technology you're discussing is available in our group shares. Please do check your schedule, and you are welcome to group share with them at one of these pre-scheduled meetings. But this was designed as a webinar for you simply to present and put out information. So I've allowed our attendees to talk, but no, it's going to get complicated and technically not possible to suddenly change it to something else. My apologies. Is there anything you would like me to show in the background, maybe, to assist your presentation, or?
No, I'll just go get in the chair and step outside. So I don't know which camera is the best one for it, but I can kind of see what's going on. So here I am in the hammock chair. You can see, you can tuck somebody up, pull the thing around them, and you can really just lay down. So I don't know which way looks the most comfortable, but this is this is the Rolls Royce of climbing in a tree, hanging from a rope. It's so peaceful to be in this. It's really good for your back and everything. All right, so as far as show and tell goes, what I'll show you here is the knotted rope, is the rope that you pull to go down. So I coming down in the tree. I don't know if you can see that. Then over here, I can pull up on it myself to get higher. And of course, I can't change direction very easy. All right, so that's the going up, and then the person can release themselves and come down if they don't want to be up high. So it's a self-advancing, self-descending from a reclined position, because Peter Jenkins told me a long time ago, it's not a thing to do, it's a place to go. So go hanging in the hammock. Can be 2 inches off the ground. It could be, 250 off the ground. If you follow up the rope in this camera view, I hope you see what's going on. I've got it safety belayed. So I like being on a limber limb that I wouldn't climb on, but having the ability to bounce a stout sweet gum limb, but I have a limiting rope way up there that if you want me to climb up there and show you that, because I can climb up there and show you all sorts of stuff. I don't know if you can see it way up there. Never mind. Rope sleeves are up there. Okay, so over here, I can set us up.
See,
Go
and
ahead.
we can see it's all looking good. Just move
Okay.
slow with your camera if you don't mind, and we can still see
Okay.
your other camera on the hammock. Don't forget about. Also,
Okay, gotcha.
perhaps you can just give us your contact information, and we can contact you after the webinar if we have any specific questions.
Okay, tree climbing. Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, tree climbing Kansas City, LLC at yahoo.com. Okay, so as far as the outline goes, if demonstrating actions can be done on a group share, I'll be happy to do that. Then the future that is available to us as a group, with the GOTC organizing a number of different programs and rendezvous like this, being part of the outreach committee is something I'm proud to announce that that's going to happen. There's some meetings going on over the telephone or Zoom like this. So being part of that as a person who has the time and ability to travel as kind of an ambassador, I've kind of asked if anybody would appreciate if I would volunteer to be an outreach ambassador, and got the permission from the board and all that. So I'd like to say the future is going to be somewhat controllable. I've got a lot of things going on in my life, and the passion I have is that next year, my partner John Winsel in Kansas City is going to be conducting the sessions here in town, with the idea that we like to offer classes, and the idea is you can come to one of the Rotary camps to participate in this and tap into the joy of some of these people where you help them. Because that's really the only thing limiting the expansion of dealing with people with special challenges, is that we need people that are confident and able to go maybe as a climbing partner next to somebody. So we have many sessions during the summer next year. Details are going to be based on what camp has the participants and the population that we can set up. The idea is we won't take a population that we're not equipped for to be 100% safe, obviously. So John Winsel has got the idea of his outfitting company called Trees Company, which is just perfect because it's shows this passion for rehabilitation, I guess, because that tree is a good company. So we're going to do a little bit of the starting phases of Treehab type of program that John Gathright has. So I was talking earlier in the group about the blue science concept about what happens with people when they get around water and in liquid and vapor and frozen form. It's a fun thing that people do with water. So I'm going to kind of name what we do in trees as kind of like a green science, because we're getting it back into nature. We're not getting the nature deficit disorder and things like that. So the Treehab program needs people to participate in that, and it's not it's not easy, but it's very rewarding, I guess. So we'd like to say we're going to do some programs through the summer at the Rotary Camp. We have different workshops at different locations that we can do. It's very easy for northern people to want to go south in February, so that's always a good time to get out of the cold Arctic north. And then in the summertime, if we have some populations that wants to do redwoods, there's something special about taking a group and having an intimate circle of people that like to climb. I do enjoy the big groups of 50 and 70 people, but you still end up with a small clique of people that you deal with, and having the ability of sharing that with other people, I'm all over that. So the whole story kind of rolls into a circle is that the opportunity exists, the design is always adaptable based on the person's challenge. And there are camps that do far more sophisticated things where they would take respiratory assisted um, people in wheelchairs up in the tree to do just an elevation and all. And there's too many places that have need for people to come because they have probably more participants than they do have staff. So to facilitate that, having a program set up that could be where I can put this circus on the road, so to speak, and going to different places in our area. Hop over to St. Louis would be easy for a lot of us. Be down to Atlanta. There are opportunities in every major city. Um, if we would get wounded warriors and wheelchair athletes involved to help people, the smaller children that may have just been affected with a special challenge, and they be their instructor, that is one of the most dynamic effects that I've heard. And that was told to me by John Gathright, is that when they bring able-bodied class to a tree, there are the special needs kids already up in the tree coming down to greet them. So they go, oh my goodness, if they can do it, I can do it. And I wanted to be in Tokyo this summer, but things happened that the world got a case of corona and 2 hurricanes already. So what's going to happen? Bar tabs going up. So thinking about the future, time, money, and commitment. There are a lot of people that have the opportunity and the commitment, but not the time and the money. So what's really neat is that with the idea of the outreach committee being able to take a look at different proposals from outfitters to say, to travel here and to plant a demonstration at a special needs camp may cost $1,000. And if the outreach committee looks over the proposal and says has a valid opportunity, I would say give them the money. Well, we don't have any money, so we need to raise some money to make this happen. So I want to start a kind of a fund, $5,000 my money would like to go into this thing. So Tree Climbing Kansas City, for the friends of my son and I have said this is a good thing. His nickname was Uncle Monkey, so the thing that I'd like to say is I think we're going to train people to be a monkey's uncle, because who's best to teach a person how to climb than your Uncle Monkey? So the whole thing is going to be an opportunity where funds to this outreach program could be matched. So if anyone wants to start putting money into the fund, I'll match it up to $5,000. And I know Abe has already put 500 into it to a scholarship program. I'll let the committee decide how to spend the money, but until we get some money, we can't spend it. And that's been one of the hard parts about our organization. And capital is needed, so getting grant money, who knows what a group of programs could cost a camp, and being able to work with them to sponsor people learning how is a challenge.
Dan, I'm
Yes, ma'am.
so sorry to interrupt your stream of thought there. You're doing great, but we've had a question for a little while. I've been looking for a good opportunity.
Okay.
You're describing funding and the things you need to buy money for, and we've had a question: is your hauling system a 3-to-1 mechanical advantage? maybe you could discuss the exact hardware that you're trying to develop for.
Okay, the hardware is a standard moving rope system that goes through a pulley at the anchor limb, and then it's got a Mishima friction hitch with the wooden ball above it that is slack tended by the pulley below it. The up rope has got a figure 8 and a bight anchored to the carabiner, so that all of the anchor point is going to be attached to that one carabiner. You pull down on the rope through the Mishibakan, the slack is tended by the pulley, and you advance with 2 hands and 2 feet, so to speak, on the rope. Did that answer it? I don't know what the questions are. Oh boy. I'll just keep talking, I suspect. Okay. The the
Yes,
the
please go
funding.
ahead. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Yes, we don't have
Okay.
any. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So the other question was about the funding. So GOTC is about the best organization that I've worked with to be able to decide where to spend their time and effort. So the outreach committee would like to have people propose different activities with special needs and what the expenses of demonstrating or conducting that would be. And if the outreach committee decides that that's you know, I want I want to be the idea that the expenses isn't going to be a hindrance to people who have the time and ability to do it. So that's the concept. If anyone has a better idea, but money donated to this fund will be matched by me, and I'm happy to start it. I,
Are
not
there
having live
any other
questions. Okay.
questions? Any other questions for Dan? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any other questions? I do not see at this time.
Okay. Oh boy. Is the motion of demonstrating the system that was asked about? Well, there's a question. Okay. Oh, Sarah Lyle. Okay, cool. All right. I don't know what else to do there. Okay. So sorry for the technical problems. I'll give it a try. And Tamala, you stop me if I go too fast, I guess. So here we go. Okay, so self-tending is one of the most important parts for a person with some challenges to do. So this was the slack tender I was talking about. Mishibakan is the friction hitch that's held in. That's a hair braid that I glued together with a little piece of plastic tubing to act as a wearing surface. So the whole thing slides like butter. So when you're hanging on the system, you tie them in with the webbing instead of deltas and all that stuff. So I'm hung in on there now, and I'll set it just a little bit further. So now you can see I'm pulling down and going up. And then on the ball to release and come down. And then the other part of it is the silly foot loop. So you'll see this little contraption is going to be a piece of plastic pipe with a hole drilled through it that passes the rope. And then inside you'll see a knot on either side. Sorry about that. With just a wrap around it. So it slides up like this and locks in.
Dan,
There's the foot loop. Yes, ma'am.
before you go too much further, we're wondering, are people harnessed when they're sitting in a chair? How does that harness work for people in a chair?
Okay, so the wheelchair people are pulled out of their wheelchair and placed into the hammock, and they're only orbiting around. They're not actually climbing up in the system. We changed their height because it's different people weigh different things, so we changed the height to get the people in and out. So it's a people in a wheelchair are in a hammock chair just for the ride.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Oh my. Um, uh, I'm afraid I'm out of content. I have to apologize. That's about the whole story, isn't it?
I think that's just fine. You do not have to
Okay.
use up time if you don't need it, and people have your contact information. I was corrected. I wrote it down incorrectly, but it is Tree Climbing Kansas City LLC at yahoo.com. TREECLIMBING Kansas City LLC at yahoo.com. Go ahead and email Dan for more information. And this video will be available later. And I'm sure if there's any additional content that you would like to provide, we can email it out. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm going to give a last few minutes for chat or Q&A. Is there anyone who has a last minute question for Dan? Sarah's very enthralled with your presentation. Thank you.
No, very good. They're welcome.
Harv mentions he's used a micro pulley and binary. And a lot of great jobs. Thank you.
Oh, good. All those tree climbers have a different.
I actually have a question.
Go ahead.
Oh, somebody's talking on the video.
Yeah,
Wow.
go ahead.
Sorry to just kind of butt in on the tech. But Dan, what I was trying to say is that I've used kind of a micro pulley and a beaner attached to a second rope on top of their friction hitch
Oh,
as a backup pull down in case they get stuck and they can't come down. Have you ever used anything like that?
The 3-to-1, is that what you're saying?
No, just a separate line that's connected on top of their, connected to the down rope on top of their friction hitch.
Oh, okay.
So I can actually pull them down from the ground if they, for some reason they can't either physically or cognitively grab onto, let's say, your that pull ball.
Absolutely. That's perfect, Harv. Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. I like that idea. It's one of the best ground rescue techniques that you need to learn because you certainly don't need to climb up there. You know, John Roughton taught me the person that he'll rig that up with is the one that stands in the circle during the instructions and is looking at the butterfly behind us and not paying any attention to the instructions. That's the kid that you want to put the rescue ground, what do you call it, the ground rescue rope up so that you can definitely pull the kid down if you need to. That's fine. Yeah, I like that.
Thanks, Dan.
You betcha. Wonderful story. Wiley wants to, I think you could send the money to GOTC and just give it as outreach or ambassador fund. Let them figure out where to put the money. That's their job.
That's an affirmative, Dan. Yes.
Okay. That's one thing we're all good at. Any other questions verbally or text? What else do I do?
I'd like to chime in. I'd like to talk with you, like just one-on-one and plan a visit.
Okay.
When is good to do that? When to call you?
You got my phone number?
No, I could probably
Okay.
go online and find it, but
Okay.
or I could just put mine in the Q&A or tell it to you. I don't mind.
Okay, I'll recite. Let me see. Let me recite. Put it in the question and answer thing. I think that'll work.
Sure, because it's on my business card. So I mean, it's okay,
Okay.
if people can see it.
All right.
Okay,
Cool.
good.
Sweet. Yeah, what a fun thing to do. Um, I don't know if we're still on Zoom things. So I guess, Tamala, could you tell me what we're doing now?
You're still Zooming. Do we have any last questions before we close up shop here? What are some challenges other than financial to run your program?
Oh my goodness. Um, Having enough staff to give a personalized attention, because sometimes you need to have one-on-one, sometimes like two-on-one, but if you have 10 rope stations up and they're all needing attention, you need to have a staff of 10 underneath you. So uh, you got to have bodies on the ground to really make sure, facilitators in place to match the population. So that's why I said the challenge is you have to say when a challenge is more than your ability. So if you can't do it safely, you have to come up with an answer for it. And it's better not to do a program that you're not equipped for and learn how from someone who's done it than to do it yourself, is my opinion. And getting this started, hopefully next May in Lee Summit, Missouri. So if you would like to display somehow Rotary Youth Camp and the contact information, it's going to be opened up for next year, I'm pretty sure. And that's all I have, folks. I can tell you other stories.
Hey, Dan, it's
Here.
Wiley.
Wiley, what's up, guy?
Well, I just actually put a Q&A in there, but can you show us an image of your hammock chair just so we can see it from the outside, how it's suspended and everything else?
Okay. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, here's the camera. Hopefully you'll see that the down rope is hooked to a ring above the friction hitch. And I used one of the deltas. There's a very little pulley. Up rope is hooked to the same one. So when you want to go up, you just pull down and it does that. And then to collapse it, it comes down. I don't know if that was.
Well, mostly what does the hammock itself look like and how
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So it's a bar. Can you see that on camera too?
off and on?
Okay, let me set
Yeah.
it.
I'm sorry, this is Tamala. Which am I supposed to be on? Dan House video 2? Which one should I be focusing on?
Okay.
This one
That
maybe?
one's good. Yeah. So it's just hooked up like this.
And once the child's or adult is in the hammock chair,
Yeah, yeah.
how do you restrain them, if any at all?
No, it's like you're in a womb. You can't fall out of the thing. You're in a bag.
Okay.
So, but you're not off the ground very far.
Cool beans.
And,
I like it.
and what's really good is if you can find a really wide area to orbit and have a very high anchor. There's a cottonwood tree that I'm able to anchor 75 feet high, about 75 feet away from the trunk. And I've got a 90-foot orbit. It's just incredibly wide. Just one little push and the people go around forever.
That's sweet. Thank you.
Oh, and then no one's ever asked me about tree tramp. I made an 8-foot trampoline hung from 6 spider ropes to a single anchor point, and I can put 6 adults on it if you can get enough people to push it. So I've got the world's largest trampoline swing for 6 adults.
I remember seeing that. It was so amazing. Oh my God. That was like, that was really
It rides like a magic carpet ride. I'm trying to find a square one that fits my carpet in my dining room that I'm going to hang on and see what happens. Wow. Everyone's happy.
yeah.
Okay. besides, we can't share video, but can we share audio? Okay. Thank you, Mud. I've answered all the questions.
Very good, Dan. Yes, we can share audio if we unmute ourselves.
Okay. Well, good. I've run out of content, but I have this whole hour. But if everyone's on board that want to group talk, I'm able to answer any questions. I'm sharing audio if we respect each other.
Well, I just do want to say thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
So Dan, have you, you mentioned John Gathright. Have you ever worked with him in person?
20 years ago on the solstice last June was the anniversary of me climbing the stag tree with Tim Kovar, Nobu, and Peter Jenkins. So we climbed to the top of the stag tree. One of the most epic climbs I've ever been on. I could spend an hour telling you about the climb story. If you want to hear the climb story, this is fantastic. The bark on a redwood tree that high up is like styrofoam. So you wrap your rope around the tree like you're running a maypole and push off real fast, and you swing in an orbit around, tumbling elbows over whatever, and you end up just bouncing around on the backside of this tree. It's just, and you laugh, you're laughing so hard you almost pee your pants. It's just so much fun. The top of the tree was hit by lightning and burned out the top of it. So there's a kind of a 8-foot diameter cave that has the inside of limbs are showing from the inside of the tree. We've all seen knots from the outside looking in towards the heartwood of the tree. But when there's no heartwood and you're looking at the live wood that's residual that didn't burn, and you see all the rings, it's a real interesting view. And then the floor of the cavern is just full of forest duff with grapevines that the birds have pooped the grape seeds in it. So you've got grapevines growing out of this gigantic hole overlooking the San Joaquin Valley, 100, 200 miles away from the top of this tree. It's pretty nice. And that was the tree that the special needs lady, she was mostly paralyzed except motion in one whole right side, and she wanted to climb to the top of the tree to put up prayer flags. So John had to do an expedition to find out, can we do this? So I was on the crew. I volunteered to cook because I like to do that. And the four of us, well, Genevieve Summers was the guide, had set up everything for doing that. And the next year, John brought this lady over and they did a special needs climb to the 254-foot level. And that was one of the first times I worked with John. The second time was up in Chicago when the Chicago International Tree Climbing Competition was rained out and they needed guest speakers. So they asked people, anybody got a presentation? Well, this guy's a TV celebrity, if you know John. He had everything going. He could talk for 2 hours. So there was nothing to do except watch the rain come down an inch an hour, and all these tree climbing people packed into this room, and John Gathright, oh, that's where I got this thing. The neckerchief is from Nobu, and it's they wear it in summertime because it's a cool picture. It makes them feel cool when they're climbing. So that's like John Gathright's friend gave that to me. So I got that then. But he's a wonderful guy. Will he come to the rendezvous virtually or not?
Oh, I tried to rope him in for this one, but he's real busy. But we'll stay in touch, and one of these times he will show up, no doubt.
Okay, that's cool. I'm hoping to have him here.
Yeah.
Okay. Dead air is no good for anybody. So anybody else want to chat? I'm good to go. We can ask the host to terminate our session.
Well,
All right. Well,
no.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
All
There's
right, Dan.
someone else. I mean,
Dan, I think we all want to say thanks, Dan, for doing this, because it's always great to see you and to hear your voice.
Oh,
We
well,
miss you
good,
so
thanks,
much.
so. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
You know, since there is time left, if you have any other, just, I'm sure you have a host of amazing stories to tell.
Mhm.
Um, you know, the years I worked with special needs, like you said, there are things that just melt your heart. And learning, you know, there's special cues, like whether it's the way they hold their face or eye, or a twitch that happens that you can tell this is an agitation, or you know, a signal that's like, oh, this is ecstasy. And it's right, it's knowing those cues and being tuned into that particular person makes all the difference. It's just about communication. So if any other like stories that just come to your mind you could share with us,
Um,
or a particular kid that came every year or something.
well, the one autistic child that, um, uh, excuse me, um, I don't know if I'm supposed to describe the challenge, but well, I'll go ahead and say it. Like an autistic slash Tourette's program, this
Okay.
child was able to focus like nobody's business on one particular thing, but you don't distract them.
Mhm.
And his father said, I need something that we can both do kind of together. So he kind of, and I agreed to take him climbing with the condition that the father climbs too, and so we found a place for the three of us to do that, and it was the child was absolutely captivated with the mechanics of all this stuff joined together, because I think a lot of times kids are what do you call it, under under there's they're challenged because they don't have a three-dimensional environment, or four-dimension, whatever. So getting out there and seeing how things move in real life, it just absolutely fascinated both him and his father. And of course, he was able to go all the way to the top way faster than I ever thought he would could be. Didn't want to come down, so so like you need to. So I stopped him. You know, I had the pull down rope up there so I could guide the climb, and so I slowed him down and said, you need to climb with your father, so he needs your help. And that was what do you call it? A reciprocity was lacking in this family's life. So just by saying, "Here, Dad, this is what you got to do," and of course, Dad's strength of body weight isn't anything like a 10-year-old boy. You know, this guy was challenging to walk up a steep hill, but there was idea. The son was able to show the father, "This is how you do it, and you can do it. You can do it too." And that kind of was something I never realized. There's a special girl out at the Rotary Youth Camp, I believe. We had the Downs group go, and the feeling of cooperation that everyone has in that group, the feeling of love and joy. This group is all about tapping into joy, and I have to think that that's one of the best phrases I ever heard from John. And I'm sure you've all seen emails of me that I feel that you climb up and you calm down, and it really is therapeutic. And it's um, there's one of the Girl Scouts that's a very active climber that helps the other ones, that's kind of taken under our wing. And the first time that she was told that she could hang inverted and play patty cake, she looked at me like, "Oh, really?" And the look on the face was like that. So the idea was getting her down and flipping around and get her ankles captured around the rope, and then putting her hands out so I'd be able to touch her palms only and give her a push. There was a electric connection right there that you have to experience to know what I'm talking about. But it was a good jolt for both of us, and you push them back and forth, and it's I feel like I like to do it because it's good on my back. When my back hurts, I go hang in a tree upside down. It's amazing. So that was the electrifying time. Climbing with Peter and Patty Jenkins on the Sitka spruce climb was a treat. We had to rig up her. Well, Peter Jenkins did it. He had to rig up a 3-to-1, and she spent the night up in that tree. It was a wonderful time to help Patty overcome polio by being married to the crazy tree man, and then of all things, Peter's down at the bottom of the tree and proposes to Patty at the bottom of the tree. And our friend Stan Stallnecker gets the video on it because the cameraman was stuck at the top feeling Patty coming down. Oh my goodness, here's the ring. Who's got a camera? So Stan stepped up and took all the video that CBS Sunday Morning News. So that was a fun time. Wow. So I like that story too. How much more time we got? Yeah.
I fear it's about time to cut you loose for your day, Dan, but thank you so
All
much
right.
for sharing your stories with us. It was
You
greatly appreciated. And
All right.
just so you know, you did kind of cover this already. I just want to be sure it was read out loud into our record, but Gennaro said he's felt immediate camaraderie with strangers when they're climbing. Can you share a similar story with special needs clients?
Yes. Stan and I were setting up the tree tramp at the big city park, and a couple came over with a small child that was obviously special challenges, and they had was pushing a wheelchair, and there was a small infant in there. So this is the first time this family of four had been out of the house in a long time, and the special needs child wouldn't get on the trampoline without his mother. So I put the mother, who just had birth 2 or 3 days ago, and this child, and I said, the father's got a ride too. Stan can watch the cradle. So the three of them got on there, and it was a connection that they all three had, that this special needs child was very, very active, and you could tell it was wearing out the parents, but putting on the trampoline and just push them in a circle, all three of them just felt like butter seeping through. So that connection right there of them, I was able to facilitate that. That was a pleasure to be involved with. And Stan remembers the story that kid didn't want to get off. So that was the other part of it, is like, oh my gosh, it was a lot of tears and foot pounding on taking off the child off the trampoline. So that was a good time, and that was a very special time for that family too. And I do find meeting people I've never climbed with before in a rendezvous always gives a special connection that you'll always remember. And I can probably tell stories about John Roughton and Stan and I getting kicked out of a tree from a Atlanta policeman that ended up putting on John's harness and climbing because he wanted to try out. So that connection with a law enforcement, and it was kind of like Andy Mayberry dropped his whole shoulder straps and his holsters and dropped these guns to the ground and got on a harness to climb with John Roughton. And the Barney Fife that was watching the whole thing was like, I'm taking those guns now and selling them. So it was a fun connection to deal with the people in the blue trade, blue science. We did some blue green right there. I guess that's the story.
Agreed.
Wow.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Sounds like you have some great stories, and I just want to remind everyone again that you can be contacted aside from this webinar, and that your email is treeclimbingkansascityllc@yahoo.com.
Yeah.